Hi, welcome. My name is Kwabena. Welcome. I want to share with you today the importance of Pan-African education. The importance of Pan-African education. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel. Share with people you think will be interested in this channel. It's about entrepreneurship. It is about finance. It is about sales. It is about African dignity as well. So today I want to share with you the importance of Pan-African education. I went through primary school, junior, secondary school, JSS, we said JSS, and then senior secondary school. I went through to university. I went through to do postgraduate in the sciences, and there was not much taught on Pan-African education as a constructive subject, as an intentional subject to raise us as Africans. It was open. They will put some cultural, some history on Africa, some cultural input, which were very much important. But as a tool, as Pan-African education as a tool, we were not taught that intentionally. And so it was during this postgraduate education that I chanced on a preacher who was teaching something about this, about African history, which spans over the last 6,000 years or more. He talked about African input in science, in management, in politics, in innovation, in business. He talked a lot. And his teaching was not just on Ghanaians or Nigerians or South Africans or Asante people or Igbo or Kikuyu or Zulu. He grouped the African people, black people, and he gave a lot of input on our contribution to religion, to science, to innovation, to modern society. And then I started to read a lot of books about this. And I saw that without this Pan-African education, or that the other education that Africans have been given is purely westernized. And so a lot of people talk about how can we overcome tribalism. The answer is Pan-African education. When you see anybody who has been consciously educated as an African, it's so much comfortable to deal with them. I've had a lot of interactions with Africans, highly educated, doctors, engineers, lawyers. If their Pan-African awareness is that little, they don't connect. I've had Christians, Muslims, people who are Africans, you think like you can connect with them. But when you look at their statements and the unawareness they have on their race, and they make a lot of excuses and they blame Africa and Africans and our contribution and our stupidity and our negligence, and they blame our politicians and things like that. It's because they are weak on Pan-African education. And so if you're looking for a tool to deal with the racism against Africans, it's the Pan-African education. The Pan-African education is not only for Africans, it's not only for black people, it's also for the Chinese, for Indians, for the white as well. They need it even more than we need it, because they've been told that the Africans have never contributed anything to civilization, and that we are the weakest, we are the bottom. And in as much as it has inflated their ego and their pride, it is also worried them, because where would the world be if Africa were that developed as everybody else? If Africa was not taken advantage of, the world will be a very different place, because the talent, the awareness, the contribution, the ingenuity in Africa is enormous. So I'm talking to you about the importance of Pan-African education. And I'm saying that if you meet an African who is conscious, that is the determinant. I'm so comfortable to meet anybody, African, who is that much conscious, who is educated himself. This is not taught in school. You would have to read yourself. All the great Africans that you have seen who have fought for our independence have been Pan-African. From Kwame Nkrumah to Mugabe, to those in the Caribbean, to Du Bois, to Luther King, to Mandela. Every African who has been interested in the well-being of Africa, whether he's an entrepreneur, an innovator, politician, historian, academic, every one of them who has done so well for Africa has been a product of Pan-African education, because that is the panacea to the Western annihilation of Africans and our contribution. And that is what gives us the depth of knowledge. I'm not talking of African culture. The culture that we grew up with, the funerals, the wearing of the kente, the fufu that we eat, the amala, all those, our names, our marital ceremonies, our naming ceremonies, all those have kept us from totally being destroyed by the insurgents from the white people. Through their school, through the academic, through their school education, through their religion, through their media, through their government system that they have led here. But if there is anything that can fight the white supremacist agenda, which has run for the last 700-800 years, not only the Europeans, also the Arabs as well, then you would need the Pan-African education. So you would have to read a lot of books on that. Kwame Nkrumah has had a lot of books. Diop, there are so many people, Santi Molefi, so many people have done great work on this. If you meet any African American, any Caribbean person, any African who lives anywhere, you see, if they have any sense of pride for Africa, it's because they have educated themselves in terms of Pan-Africanism. If they are the ones blaming Africa and telling us about our history and all those, a lot of the times it's because of the education that they've been given, which is been largely devoid of the contribution of Africa and our intelligence and our wisdom. You know, so the Pan-African education is largely a tool to fight against the Western dominance. So if you happen to get any president in Africa who is not Pan-Africanist, he's not going to do much. It's just going to flow. He will look for the money only for himself. The culture has helped us to be rooted, but we cannot fight at the global level if we don't put Pan-African education in all our children across board. And which means that we are going to fight against the religion, we are going to fight against the democracy that they are pushing on us everywhere, we are going to fight against the content from BBC and CNN. These are the things that we are going to fight with, but they will help us. If you want solution to racism, is the Africans becoming aware of the structure of racism. It's not just prejudice, it's not prejudice, it's not discrimination. Racism is a system, it's the system that the world has been built on for the last 700, 800 years. You know, and it was the Africans who were sacrificed. So you want to understand racism unless you have Pan-African education. It is this kind of education that will empower the Africans economically. You see any African company giving works to other Africans, it's because they are Pan-African in their education. If they are just liberal, they don't care. That's why an institution will collect money from here and give the contract to a Chinese company, to give a contract to a French company, give a contract to an American company. Because the Pan-Africanists believe that if you don't empower the African economically, then there is no empowerment. It's not just political empowerment, it's the economic empowerment, it's the entrepreneurship empowerment, it's the innovation empowerment. It's when you believe that the machine that you want to create, you want to import from China, maybe 80% of it can be made by African engineers, and you are ready to go through the process with them. If you don't have this kind of consciousness, you will not, you just import. Even the masks that we are using, the one that we are sewing here, they are far better than the ones that they are importing. But if they are not Pan-African in their approach, they will say that, oh, let's bring the international standard. So a lot of the people you have conflict with, they look black, they talk black, they even speak the language. They talk like they're happy as Africans. They talk like they're happy as Ghanaians. But the education is weak. And therefore you see them blaming us all the time. And when they look at the flow of their money, look at the patience they have, who do they give opportunities to? You know, so the Pan-African education is so critical. It's beyond the drumming and dancing. It is beyond just wearing kente. It is beyond just taking an African name. You know, it is a tool that empowers the African from childhood to everywhere. You know, it is a tool that believes in the engineers of Africa, the technology in Africa, that believes in the business people, you know, empowering the business people in Africa, that believes that we can use our own appropriate management systems and structures and the technology to build from where we are. It's Pan-African education. So thank you very much for watching.